So we are going to be picking up here with the adding the partial. So what I'm talking about is if we look back at the app itself, if I look at my rooms, you can see that I have rooms here and the way that this is being done is if I look inside of the rooms HTML, I'm now passing a app's rooms followed, which is a partial. So my partial is under my shared, and if I look at this, it's just my table and all my table properties. And then now what I need to do is also on profile, I want this to be visible. So let's move this below here. And this time, I'm passing in my application user ID of my profile user. So now what I need to do is have my, it's the users followed, right? So it's application users followed subscription, which is a subscription. And then in here, I want to do a this dot application users followed subscription equals this dot hub service dot get rooms followed, which is going to be my subscribe, my rooms here, which is iRoom array, like that. And now what I want to do for this is I want to assign no, because this needs to happen on the other component. So when I go to a profile, alright, sorry about that. So when I go to a profile, there, it's now populating my followed rooms, which is great. And it navigates me around. Now this is a little concerning. This is going to change my room, and if I look back here at me, that looks right. And then if I look at this one, it should not, because this one is not followed. Okay. This one's right. We should get the entities where the follow is the application user ID. And then for each one of them, if it's online, we want to read it. And that looks right. And then when I go to the other side, it didn't load any data, which means that it never injected that I again. So if I look at this one again, you're injecting you should be injecting this one, and this is only being loaded on ng init, and it's passing in this application profile. So here we're going to do an alert on this.application user ID. Try it again. So this time I look at my rooms. I see that, that's good. And then I look at my user. And that's right. Then I look at this user, and it didn't repopulate that list. Let me look at that one more time. That was a little confusing because my user that I'm on as is liverdev trying here. And so if I look at that one, I get the DB, my rooms are none. So you need to inject into that component every time that that's updated. So back over here, where we're injecting this, this needs to happen all the time. So I could do this with a profile service. I don't want, because it's not refreshing this. So I think what we need to do is make a service called profile service, and generate service. Hey there, Gunners 1886, how are you doing? We're going to call this profile service. And I can move that up into my services folder. And in this profile service, we're just going to have a variable called the application user ID, which is a string. So over here now I can inject the profile service. Okay. And then we can just use this one here. Like that. And then you want to have an event on the profile service. So you want to say a public, so we're just going to say a set application user ID, which will pass in an ID, which is a type of string. And in this, we're just going to do this equals this. And then we want to have this event called a profile. We'll say that this is my application username user ID changed equals a new subscription of a string. Subject, not a subscription. And then this is going to be a this one of these dot next of my application user ID. And so now in here we can have the new subscription called a profile changed is a subscription. And then in here we can do a this dot profile changed equals this dot profile service dot, and we need to have in here the get. So that's right here as a get application user ID. It's an observable string like that. Yeah, and then here it is. Dot get application user ID dot subscribe my application user ID here, like that, which is a type of a string. And then finally I want to say this dot profile change dot unsubscribe. And now we can do this again. We can say that this is a one of these, and then this one is that. Okay. And that should happen every time in profile you receive a new profile. So this one. So in this one I want to do a private profile service, which is a profile service. And then this one you can do a second. This is when you receive the profile. And then you want to do this dot profile service dot set it to the this dot profile dot ID. And I think that should do it. If we look back at the app, okay, it's telling me that I need to correct on the profile HTML class this. And this time when I look at me, and then I just navigate over here. Let me do that again. Me, and then we navigate over here to this one. That's right. And if I go back to me, and I look at my profile, if I go from here to here, now it's doing it correctly. And if I look back here, now it's showing me the 5 favorite rooms correctly. And if I look at rooms, that's right. And then if I look at rooms here, well, no, this one didn't update here. So followed rooms, when this loads, rooms, here it is, app rooms followed. So when you start this, you want to say this dot profile service. Let me add that up here as a profile service. And I want to say dot set application user ID to be nothing. All right, so now that works. And then that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Now if I look at the formatting for profile, I have this flex container within vertical content. And the thing is, I don't really want to, I'd like to be able to have this squeeze in here. But that would mean I'd have to have a flex box. I think it's just better to have it like this. So that's looking good. And just to confirm, if I look at rooms, we're good there. We can look at it. We can look at another room. And then if I go into one of these other rooms, this one, and then we can follow it. Looks good. Now, one of the other things I wanted to check here was this followed rooms. If we look at rooms, we only want to have this if so it's actually down here on this one. No, not this one. Shared rooms followed HTML. We only want to have this, and this is going to be my rooms.length is greater than 0. There we go. All right. The only other thing that I wanted to do right now was you had a sort that wasn't working, and it was the, trying to remember, looks good. Okay, so I think we're good to go. We can close this one up. We can look at this back end and stop it. I can close up all of these. And then what we can do is we can open up our source tree. We can go ahead and stage this and say OpenDJ54, and my time since my last commit was 10:15. So that's been 3 hours. My comment is front end for follows has been completed. And we'll commit it and push that out. And then I'm going to look at my development branch. And I'm going to merge 54 into it. And push that out. Back on the board, I can look at 54 and I can say that this one is in the right fixed version and it's been completed. Okay. The next one will be this 74. And this is a quick one. So if I look at this, we'll just do a branch and I'll do an OpenDJ74. We'll create it and push this one out. And that's it. So we've gotten that one completed.